The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
Well, the world is upside down today, and probably still no one in that interview anticipated such a twist of the Putin plot. One thing that's clear is that this rating is really important to draw quality investments to the country. But actual examples of such investors already in the country have even more value. DriveWealth is the newest example for us. Together with Galt and Taggart, this experienced partner will try its best to raise the financial culture in this country, making the business environment more appealing for the investment in Georgia. You will get the same impression after watching the interview that Giorgi Isakadze kindly conducted for the Checkpoints.
Michael, so glad to have you in our office. Thank you so much for visiting us. DriveWealth in Georgia, DriveWealth and Georgian market, it's something very special what is happening. You're a member of 250 fintech companies on US market, what I've searched. And at the same time, by the way, my first question is, Georgia for DriveWealth, it's 153rd country, or am I right?
We do have end users in over 150 countries, so I think we
somewhere.
Yes, but I think that in terms of partnership, the partnership with Bank of Georgia and Galt and Taggart is, I think, about our 100th, a little over 100th partner.
I've also learned some details of your biography. I'm so much impressed.
Thank you.
And but at the same time, I do have some more questions about DriveWealth itself. What is DriveWealth itself? Please, let's brief our viewers and followers.
Certainly. So DriveWealth is the pioneer in bringing fractional share trading to the world. And the idea really is to democratize investing so that investors of any size can own 4 lari worth of Apple or 10 lari worth of Facebook. And we've been building that technology and that brokerage capability for about 10 years. And we partner with great companies like Bank of Georgia, Galt and Taggart around the world. And this capability really opens up the world of investing for people who never had that kind of access before. And we're talking about very large companies that are listed in the US and very liquid market, very accessible market. So for regular retail investors, it's a very unique opportunity. And we've been very successful with that. So we just had a very successful Series D fundraising, which valued our company at $2.85 billion. So we are now an official unicorn. And great to be working here in Georgia.
Yeah, but why Bank of Georgia? Well, you mentioned Galt and Taggart as well. Well, I do have answer on this question, but definitely our viewers and followers might have some of them. Why Bank of Georgia and Galt and Taggart? What are the criteria? How you are, monitoring your future partners and allies?
Well, it is certainly important in each country where we do business that we want to work with very respected institutions. We also get involved with early stage companies, but it's a wonderful thing when you can go into a country like Georgia and work with an institution like the Bank of Georgia that has so much presence and so much credibility.
They do.
And so I was actually introduced to the Bank of Georgia by the founder of a European fintech.
Whoa.
And that was really my first opportunity to look at the market and understand the potential here, and we were all very excited about it.
So it's working.
It is working, yes.
Great. I want to share. Well, it's not a secret, but it's a sort of story happening between myself and David Nishnianidze. It's first time in face I'm interviewing him. We are usually doing it every Tuesday, but it was always happening online due to the COVID and all the other restrictions. So much happy to host you here as well, David.
Likewise, thanks.
Tell me about your choice regards of DriveWealth. Why DriveWealth, and by whom you've been presented to Michael and company?
Sure. Obviously, you also know that Galt and Taggart has a unique place in Georgia in terms of investments, and We are proudly to say like a leading brokerage house in Georgia, and we've been listening to our clients very closely and trying to give them a product that that they are requesting. And one of them was more affordable trading capabilities, if we can say so. So we had our homework, and then we start looking for providers, brokerage houses that could provide such services.
Okay.
Needless to say, we had many partners, potential partners on the list. However, the credibility, experience went still on the DriveWealth side, and they do have a good track record. So when we were evaluating the potential partners, one thing is to look at the track record, but the other one is to look at the potential as well, right? So, in potential, at least from this perspective, we think that we do have a quite good potential with DriveWealth in terms of developments. Because if you don't develop and don't grow where the clients would like you to go, you have to follow the client's needs in a nutshell. And we do think that DriveWealth has a strong will to answer those needs down in the road. And obviously, we can say that for now, the partnership has been really successful, and we are happy to be partnering with DriveWealth.
You have a lot of consumers and clients, and your portfolio is huge and impressive. It's been mentioned various times, but still, I mean, this partnership is oriented on what kind of consumers or clients? I mean, who will benefit more in regards of your partnership with DriveWealth?
That's actually quite a good question, right? Because our slogan says creating opportunities, right? And
in general and for everybody.
Bank of Georgia says don't stop, right?
Yeah.
So I think with this product, we've created opportunities and we're not stopping. So, and at the end of the day, the Georgian residents mainly and clients will benefit more from this product. We do think that this is going to be a basic need in terms of access and accessibility to the investments. And everybody should be entitled to access to the investments. And if they have a little bit of savings, or maybe thinking about to grow their potential pensions, or for some other reason, maybe that's going to be for to buy a house or something like that down the road for their big dreams, they should have access to participate in international markets, and they should be able to invest just like anybody else does in the world.
Before moving back to Michael, my question is in regards of the new investment platform, which has been launched and already presented to local consumers so far. How it's doing? I mean, it's a huge opportunity. And before that, in general, for potential consumers and clients, it was invisible how they could reach international financial markets. Now we do have this opportunity. I mean, all of us. It's been just around 2 months. It's already been launched. Am I right, David?
Since December.
Correct. Yeah. So how it's doing? Do we have some sort of preliminary or basic statistics? How it's growing? I mean, I want to measure the interest. Let me say so. Not just finance. I think this is the core issue in these regards.
Sure. I think as a conclusion, we can say the interest is really high.
Okay.
But obviously, it's a new product. It's new to us, new to the Georgian market and Georgian investors. And with that new product comes also some kind of like a learning curve. And we have to also educate. And I'm sure you've seen us kind of doing marketing campaigns, educational campaigns. We also have business course. We also have done the solo talks just to kind of give that information in from different channels so we can reach every single interested client. And just like we've mentioned, this is the benefit that ultimately clients gonna face, and we are trying our best to get this message to everybody. And for now, we still know that there's a lot that needs to be done, but I think for now we're doing okay, and the client interest is really high.
So, Mr. O'Connor, dear Michael, how is Georgia doing in general from your perspective? While presenting Bank of Georgia Galt and Taggart team by your allies, partners through European stock market, as you mentioned, I'm more than sure that DriveWealth team, including yourself, you search a lot about Georgia while moving and entering this market through this partnership. How similar Georgian story of economic development is to other countries where you are already presented, and in general, what's your first impression and point of view how our capital market is moving forward? I'm so much in a hurry that I wanted to develop rather faster during last years, but nevertheless, your opinion is rather important than mine.
Well, I'll say that what we are seeing with this product is very typical of what we see in a new market. And I think David's absolutely right that there's an education process and a learning curve that has to be traveled. It's a quite revolutionary product.
Indeed.
You know, 2 months ago, if you were a small investor in Georgia, you had no opportunity to invest in these products at all. And so in that sense, it's a very groundbreaking thing. And we've seen this in other countries where there's not a lot of opportunity to do those sorts of investments. So the other thing is, as we got to know David and his team, we could tell that they had done their homework.
They did.
And they knew the market they were going after. They knew how to present the product.
Yeah.
They had great technology, which in some cases large financial institutions have a problem with that. So in some respects they combine the best of a large established institution with a very credible brand and lots of visibility with the technology chops of a startup company.
Can we move to the next part of my question about the capital market development in Georgia? I mean, the same question will be followed to you, David, as well, after Michael responds. How well we are doing in these regards, because at the same time, we cannot change the logic of the development of the market. It should be driven for some demand. At the same time, financial literacy is crucially important in these regards. So where do we stand so far, and can we evaluate some preliminary thoughts about how?
So I think David is probably better positioned to answer that question. I mean, my impression is that the country as a whole has done a really marvelous job of putting in place the structures to develop really attractive capital markets.
You mean the legal base?
Yes.
And
so the regulatory
basement,
structure, the interaction between financial institutions and the regulations, there seems to be very good communication there. The openness to new products. Sometimes you go into a country and that's not the stance of the regulators. So my impression, and again, from an outsider's perspective, is that things we see in other well-developed capital markets are all in place here. So I think you should be optimistic about that.
Thanks so much for that. David, what about yourself? You're smiling. I think you agree with Mr. O'Connor.
Well, obviously...
Or you share my point of view, we should speed up and speak up more in this regard.
We need to work harder, I guess.
I agree.
And I think this new product that we've launched, it's all about the awareness, right? And it's all about the understanding the economics behind the capital markets. And we have to get this notion of what the capital market is in a layman's term, just to basically kind of tell them that it's not if someone wants to get more funded to acquire more kind of like interest and funds for growth, capital market should be one of the places to consider. And obviously Georgia has to do a lot of work from every perspective you look at it, but again, one thing that will help is the understanding, and I think this new product, what it will do is that that's going to create this kind of understanding of the investment, right? From the demand side, because capital market kind of has both sides, right? Supply and demand. So I think with this product, we're going to be able to create the demand, and once the demand is out there, then supply side also will follow. But we have to work on both ends to kind of supplement that.
One more thing, while moving back to some of your quotes before happening around this platform, you also mentioned about unique possibility for diversified investment in these regards. Can you specify a bit more about this unique opportunity? What do you mean by diversified investment?
Sure. I think about the uniqueness, we've concluded that
Yeah, we did.
Indeed unique opportunity for Georgian residents to be able to access investments. About the diversification, that's one of the key things that people have to consider, right? And with this product, we have access to U.S. markets, and U.S. market is undoubtedly most liquid market in the world. And then they have access to stocks, ETFs, and with the diversification, we refer more towards everything has to be kind of in terms of like a portfolio creation. Someone has to have their little bit of cash balance on their banking accounts, as well as maybe a little bit of retail in real estate, I should say, and also a portion of their investments should also be in stocks, and obviously bonds and different kind of like products that is considered as an investment. But with this platform, we do have an opportunity to diversify the holdings and pick and choose specific stocks, specific sectors, ETFs. And in a nutshell, we can say that just investing in SPY or VOO, which is the index for S&P 500, and we know itself S&P 500 tracks 500 listed companies in the U.S. That itself is a diversification. Yeah, when you're following those 500 companies, right, with just buying one instrument. So this is also the part of education. What we are trying to do is that coming from the riskiness of the investments and kind of like a risk appetite is obviously subjective and it's individual. And if someone who's a risk averse, they can just move towards ETFs. Or if someone is who's more risky, they can pick and choose stocks and go with the stock investments. But again, everything depends from the point of view of an investor and their plans, right? Because it should be the investing is like more like a longer term version of kind of like a saving and building the wealth. So if someone thinks that they're going to need money in a month or two, I think it's better to stay on the sidelines maybe and kind of like decide what they want to do with their money first and then go with the investments.
I do agree. Can't agree more. Michael, I cannot miss the opportunity to ask you, well, I mentioned when I met David through online channels, because of this pandemic and its first opportunity while sitting with him together here in this office, physical way, in face, finally. Tell me, what has happened in your point of view, from your perspective, after the pandemic? I'm not concluding pandemic, in general itself, but how the mood, how the behaviors of investors has changed, or did they change at all or not? In some perspective, I was thinking they got more emotional, as David has mentioned. Maybe they're like more structural wise. I don't know. I do have some doubts in all the regards. What's your perspective? How pandemic has changed the structure of the general?
DriveWealth has been in a really unique position to watch and learn from what has happened during the pandemic era. And the things that we've seen, one is very, very obvious. There's been a huge explosion in retail investment around the world. And this is one of the advantages of our business models, that we have partners around the world. So we see that with the onset of the pandemic, for various reasons, people got much more serious about their own financial well-being. And for a lot of people, getting involved in active investing was an important part of that and continues to be. So we see much higher levels of participation in overall market activity from the retail segment. And that continues to be the case. The other thing is, you mentioned emotion. I mean, there's no doubt for new investors, there's an emotional component to it. And
it always was.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think too, there are new tools that people can use to be smart about their investing, even if there's an emotional element to it. So we've seen this with certain stocks that have been popular on various sites and social media platforms, right? And I think that will continue to be the case, that people will get their information in new and unique ways, and it makes them informed investors, but also they invest in the things that they're interested in. And so hopefully with this education process, You focus on diversification first, and this idea of dollar cost averaging, that is making small investments regularly over time, and those are really the winning formulas for retail investors.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's a
It
pleasure.
was a great pleasure. So thank you so much. David, thank you so much for being with us and for this very interesting interview.
Thanks.
Thank you.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.